What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of the 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below, the best gaming related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a ton of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. Our first topic of the day, guys, is going to be talking about Anthem, a game that has had a lot of hype at first, and then of course just completely fizzled out on us, and there was a lot of talk that they might be shutting the servers down, and BioWare being in a lot of trouble because of the not so much success, I mean very much so a failure that was Anthem, and a game that I really felt had a ton of potential. I think there were a lot of people out there that thought Anthem had so much potential in, kind of like this, this space and in this genre. Of course, we thought that, hey, Anthem's got a really good shot at being something special. Well, in a report that is coming from Forbes and from Paul Tassi, BioWare is doubling down on Anthem with a complete overhaul of the game. Now, this article, guys, was written last year. But I thought that it's pretty, had some interesting points, and I wanted to kind of like talk about those things here with all of you and kind of talk about, what happened to Anthem, like what really was the high points, and then of course the really low points, those peaks and valleys, and there was a lot more valleys than peaks, and I think we can all agree with that. But really, guys, what happened to Anthem, a game that had so much promise? And where could the future be going for Anthem moving forward with BioWare? So I genuinely thought the next bit of major Anthem news I'd be reporting would be that BioWare was shutting down the servers at some point, and yet here we are with the opposite appearing to be true. Kotaku's Jason Schreier, the gaming industry's master of whispers, has landed yet another surprising scoop. After conversations with several sources at BioWare, he claims that current hints about working on core issues in the game, something the now departed Chad Robertson said in September blog post, has turned into something much larger, spanning personnel at both BioWare Austin and Edmonton. Schreier says this is Anthem next, though what exactly it will be does not seem to be fully settled, and it could be anything from long-running No Man's Sky type patches to a chunky Taken King type expansion to a full-on sequel to Anthem, though he says current players would not be expected to pay full price. So number one, guys, I think the big thing of really what happened with Anthem was there was a lot of hype that was building up, but there was a number of issues, of course, when the game first came out. Lots of people reporting like just really buggy. I played the game myself, and let's just put it this way. It wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't like I thought it was going to be a lot better than the product I got, but I could really see something with this game. Like, underneath all of it, underneath all the problems of Anthem, I feel that there was something special there. I really do. I feel to this day that there's something special there. This reminds me, though, a complete overhaul of the game. It does remind me of No Man's Sky. Imagine this, guys. Imagine BioWare. They said, look, Anthem's special. We know it's special, and we're going to take an approach similar to with No Man's Sky. Obviously, the developers over at No Man's Sky, they thought to themselves, look, this is special. We got something here. There's just, obviously we have some issues with the game. People are, absolutely making us the laughing stock and such, but we're going to have the last laugh, and we're going to really put all of our efforts into this game and continue, not give up on the IP. And they did it, and look at what No Man's Sky is doing to this day. I believe it's the greatest comeback in gaming history, and I made a video about that, which you guys can, of course, check out on the YouTube channel. This is something different. Anthem, though, with BioWare, you got a company that, a developer that obviously believes in Anthem. Now, this is if this report is true from Jason Schreier, that they are really trying to, with a complete overhaul, they want to kind of make right what they did wrong. Now, a sequel, I don't know if that's really the answer. I don't think it is. I think what they need to do is focus on Anthem, make Anthem as good as it can possibly be, and then we can start talking about a sequel, because I agree with this statement saying that if they made a sequel, current players would not be expected to pay the full price, or they wouldn't expect to pay the full price. Like they would, I don't believe players of Anthem who are, huge fans of that community are going to want to pay full price for another game, and they're going to think to themselves, well, are we going to get more of the same result that we got from the first Anthem? So in my opinion, I would say, and I think BioWare is probably doing this. This is still a smart developer, guys, a smart company. So I believe what they're going to do is they're doing a complete overhaul of Anthem. They believe they have something special, which I do as well. And this could be a huge comeback story. They probably look at the success of what No Man's Sky did, and they're thinking, well, we could have the same success. We just have to go about things a little bit differently than what we've been doing. So I think there's certainly possibility, and I think if you're an Anthem fan, if you really love this game, and you want to see a continuation of this franchise, I think that this is really good news. This is a best case scenario, because worst cases, they would be shutting down the servers, and then really wouldn't have any there would be nothing to really do in the game, obviously campaign and such, but other than that, you wouldn't have much. What's being worked on is pretty much every main component of the game, ranging from loot to missions to the open world and central hub zone for Tarsus. BioWare has maintained all throughout Anthem's troubles that it would continue to be supported, and Schreier has said in the past that internally, sources have been saying the same thing. EA is not standing around with an executioner's axe or anything, but it has been hard to believe that was the case given the state of the game and its nearly non-existent player base at this point. I am quoted in the article itself back when I said I don't really care to hear about future plans for Anthem because the game seemed like it was simply going to be on life support with only small-scale seasonal events like ones we've seen recently from now on. So, look, I think, guys, EA, the other thing that you really got to feel encouragement about is EA isn't like pulling the plug completely. If the report is true, EA is there. EA gets a ton of hate. I mean, we all know this. EA and Activision and Blizzard and even Take-Two, all of these companies get a lot of hate from their player bases. Now, obviously, it's because they're such huge companies and, they're trying to find ways that they can make money, whether that be microtransactions or whatever it is, right? They want to make money. But it's really reassuring to feel like if this is true, and EA is obviously wanting to, help with kind of righting the wrongs of what, Anthem kind of stood for, and trying to do this complete overhaul of the game, moving in a direction that could be quite, positive here. They might think to themselves, look, like there is something special here, as a lot of our player base believes there's something special. Let's let BioWare do their thing, really make a complete overhaul, change all those wrongs and kind of right this ship in the right direction and move forward. I just think that Anthem deserves that. It deserves to be a game that exists obviously in gaming, but also has a fair chance at, being something that could be special. And I think BioWare knows they got something special. So if this is true and EA is behind it, as far as, not standing there with an executioner's axe or anything, and they don't want to just pull the plug on this project, kudos to them, really, because of all the hate that they get, guys, for their games. This would be big for them to be, not pulling the plug on something and just abandoning ship. That means a lot. That speaks a lot. So, there is a big gamble though for BioWare and EA with Anthem. So, to me, this strikes me as a fundamentally terrible idea, throwing good money after bad. The sunk cost fallacy. Anthem is not Mass Effect. It does not have a fan base it built for a decade across 3 good games who are willing to overlook a bad outing, which would be Andromeda, in the hopes the series can rise again. And the Kotaku story confirms a new Mass Effect game is being made, led by Andromeda vet Mike Gamble. Rather, Anthem is a brand new IP that never really got off the ground in the first place and has struggled in almost every way, far more than other early issue looters have, like Destiny 1 and 2 or 3. And community interest just isn't there. For the most part, this is a game that routinely draws 7 viewers on Twitch any given moment, not 700. 7. Anthem is effectively a meme now, and I do not know how BioWare could hope to build up a viable player base for the title at this point after so much has gone wrong. I have always maintained that, yes, Anthem does have a lot of aspects that work, namely its combat, and even its loot started to shape up nicely over time. So look, we all know that Anthem is not Mass Effect. It was kind of trying to be somewhat of a spiritual successor to Mass Effect, and it's not going to be that, right? And I do think that with a new Mass Effect game that's allegedly being made, obviously, Anthem is going to have a lot of pressure on it, okay? And yeah, sure, it draws not very many viewers, all right? That's obvious on Twitch and such. But, getting back to No Man's Sky, No Man's Sky was a laughing stock for a period of time. It was memed very hard. And then all of a sudden now, it's being taken very seriously because the developers took it very seriously and changed the things that the community wanted changed. And I believe the same can be said for Anthem. If BioWare does the things that the community wants, I believe that they really could earn their trust back. And I think that having EA, though, as the overall, publisher of this title, that doesn't really help the situation either. It is incredibly difficult to imagine a grand comeback for Anthem. Yes, a total overhaul is what is potentially needed, and that seems like what it's getting, but it would need to be something truly groundbreaking and fantastic to have a prayer of saving the IP. Another issue is the possible notion that anyone will be asked to pay anything for new content attached to Anthem, whether it's an expansion or a sequel, given how slighted many fans feel by the broken launch and anemic content to date. So, I mean, I look at Anthem, and it's unfortunate for Anthem as a franchise that it wasn't like the second or third game that kind of went wrong. It was the first one. The very first one is what they just got it all wrong kind of thing. Because if you compare it to Mass Effect had all those years of just great games that really built a community and a following around the game. Anthem hasn't had that. And as he said, that's a significant issue. So to close in this article, I am fascinated by BioWare and EA's determination to make Anthem a fixture in an industry that so roundly rejected its initial offering. If they can pull it off, it will be a miracle, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm going to hold my breath, though. I really am. Why would I, hold my breath for this, guys? It's simple. It's because they are, if this is a true statement when we say that they are doing a complete overhaul, EA is behind it and all of that, this really could become like a No Man's Sky 2.0. It could become like a, kind of take the successes of what No Man's Sky did, because they had to do like a complete overhaul with massive updates and things of that nature. If BioWare does that with Anthem, they really could have something special on their hands, and I do believe that. So I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna hold my breath or not, but I'm going to go on a limb here and say that this is very possible. If you're an Anthem fan or a player in that community, this is the best case scenario for Anthem at this very point, and I believe that with BioWare making some good moves for it, some good updates and things of that nature, and EA being there to back them with their resources and things that they have to help out, this could be a big comeback story. I would love to hear from you guys, though. What do you guys think about it? Do you think that Anthem's going to make a massive comeback? Or do you think that this is just going to continue fizzling and the IP is going to be dead upon arrival of, say, some updates and things of that nature? But let me know what you guys think. Let's have a real conversation about it. Our next topic is going to be about The Witcher, guys, a franchise that people have just been talking about, not only because of the Netflix series, but also because, of course, the success of these games and people wanting to see a sequel to The Witcher 3, and I think that there's a really good case that you could make that this is definitely a game that will be coming at some point in the future, that being in the form of The Witcher 4. But a lot of question marks are there because right now, of course, CD Projekt Red is working on Cyberpunk 2077, a very ambitious project that they are working on. But I don't think that it's a stretch to say The Witcher 4 is not a matter of, if it ever comes out, but a matter of when it comes out. So in an article, guys, that was written by Sam Loveridge of Games Radar, talking about The Witcher 4 and everything that we know so far about the game, and will we see a Witcher 4? I mean, where is it at this point, and where could it be, and what can we expect as far as the future is concerned in The Witcher? So we know that The Witcher 4, or whatever it's eventually called, is a way off, but at least it looks like it will arrive one day. Although developer CD Projekt Red is really busy with another little project known as Cyberpunk 2077 right now, it's looking increasingly likely the team's next project is The Witcher 4. And right off the bat, guys, I've been saying this for a while. CD Projekt Red, they're becoming a very good company as far as like a developer that is really, obviously take things very, very seriously, but they are a developer that they're starting to kind of remind me of like a Naughty Dog and some of these other, developers out there that are just making like smash hit game after smash hit game. And so with Cyberpunk 2077, I don't think it's a stretch to say that that's going to be a fantastic game. The Witcher 4, though, is probably something that's going to be coming after that, at some point. And that's not just based on the success of the Witcher Netflix series either. The Polish studio has been talking quite openly about the next entry in the Witcher series. Official CD Projekt Red forum moderator Donata Pawlowska recently confirmed that as far as the strategy of the CD Projekt Capital Group for 2016 to 2021 is concerned, its plans to release the second AAA game by 2021 remain unchanged. We are currently focusing on the production and promotion of Cyberpunk 2077, so we do not want to comment on further projects. That smells like The Witcher 4 to me, and some time before 2021. What else do we know that CD Projekt Red is working on? A new Witcher game, specifically The Witcher 4. Oh yes, CD Projekt Red CEO Adam Sinsky has already basically confirmed that there will be another Witcher game. It just won't be called The Witcher 4. So it's looking likely the next game is but a few years away. The first three Witchers were by definition a trilogy, so we simply could not name the next game The Witcher 4. This does not mean, of course, that we will leave the world of The Witcher. So I think it's good that they're kind of talking about things, in terms of like, okay, we're not going to call it The Witcher 4, we're going to call it something else. And I do like that, because it's like, okay, the trilogy cemented, that legacy is there. Now we want to, maybe talk about somebody else's, the future of something else. Like, obviously I think it would be a smart decision on their part to continue Geralt's story as much as they can, or maybe do some spin-offs or things of that nature. But I like that they did the trilogy, and now it's kind of maybe a soft reboot of the franchise. That would be something interesting as well. The Witcher is one of two franchises on which to build the future activities of the company, he adds. Today, unfortunately, I cannot reveal anything more. With The Witcher 3, developer CD Projekt Red created a glorious, huge, and utterly explorable fantasy world that Told Tales players will be talking about for years to come, including well, we're not going to get into that. It took the Witcher series to a height of success it had never seen before, making its scarred, white-haired hero Geralt a bit of a star. So we all love the way CD Projekt Red deals with DLC 2. For Witcher 3, one of the best RPG games of all time. I don't think there's any debate there. It gave us 16 free downloadable content packages with the 10-hour expansion, Hearts of Stone, in October 2015, and then the beefier second expansion, Blood and Wine, in May 2016. Once you lock yourself into The Witcher 3's world, it is incredibly easy to just stay there. So, I gotta say, guys, one thing that I've been saying, and when I talk to people about The Witcher and The Witcher series, it's like, look, right now you've got The Witcher Netflix series that can kind of quench your thirst, so to speak. until we get more, confirmation about a Witcher 4, a Witcher spinoff, whatever it is that they decide to do. And Cyberpunk 2077 will also be there. If you really love CD Projekt Red and you're kind of waiting for The Witcher, you can either, of course, be playing The Witcher 3. Guys, it's a massive world and there's tons of stuff to do. So I would suggest, personally, getting involved in that way, with the Witcher franchise is just more so than not either sticking with just CD Projekt Red and whatever project is that they do, kind of keeps you, playing their games, whether that be, of course, Cyberpunk 2077 or The Witcher 3, but there's so much that you can do. And of course, with the Netflix series, that'll keep you like coming back and talking about The Witcher and where this awesome series could potentially go. So while developer CD Projekt Red hasn't outright confirmed that there will be a Witcher 4, it certainly hasn't been ruled out completely. As we've explored above, the team isn't averse to talking about the idea of another Witcher game, and it's getting more interesting after CD Projekt Red, the parent company of developer CD Projekt Red, or CD Projekt, signed a deal with Witcher books author Andrzej Sapkowski to further solidify their relationship. So we've always admired Mr. Andrzej Sapkowski's works, a great inspiration for the team here at CD Projekt Red, said the president and joint CEO of CD Projekt. I believe today marks a new stage in our continued relationship. As we said before, never say never, but right now it's really Blood and Wine. This is the end. Blood and Wine is the closing, and there won't be any Witcher anytime soon, if there ever will be one. So they're kind of going back and forth here. Some are saying, within CD Projekt Red that, oh yeah, there's definitely going to be another Witcher. And then in CD Projekt, it's like, oh, there might not be. But I think we all can agree that there has to be another Witcher game. There's just, even if it's just a spin-off or something of that nature. Back in 2015 of December, CD Projekt Red CEO Adam Sinsky seemed more definite that this is a series that the developer would be reluctant to leave behind. It's too early to talk about it, but it's not like we're forgetting about this brand. It wouldn't be fair towards the fans, said Sinsky to Polish TV station TVN24 BIS. We've worked within this universe for over a dozen years now, and I don't think it's going to be the end of it. So there you have it. The Witcher was designed as a trilogy, and a trilogy cannot have a fourth part, can it? Said Marcin Iwinski. We like this world a lot. We invested 15 years of our lives in it and a lot of money. So we'll think about it, making a new Witcher game at some point. But please consider us as rational people. We sometimes have weird ideas, but overall our thinking is very rational. We have full rights to the Witcher games. They are ours. We've invested enormous funds into promoting it, and it's a very strong brand. So obviously the team is currently working on Cyberpunk 2077, which is due out sometime after 2017, which it's coming out in 2020. But CD Projekt Red is also working on another game scheduled for release sometime between 2017 and 2021. That's mysteriously described as a AAA RPG title, but according to Iwinski, although fits that description perfectly, you probably shouldn't get your hopes up. We are a publicly traded company, so we cannot comment on that game, but I can assure you we are not working on another Witcher, he said. So that being said, guys, I think one of the big important things here is what maybe the previous Witcher games are telling us maybe about the future. So if you played The Witcher 3, so by the way, guys, there's going to be spoilers here in this portion of this part of the show. If you play The Witcher 3 through to conclusion, then you'll know what it does round off. That it does round off the series in quite a closed manner. The base game has over 40 different ending variations, but whatever happens, it's very much the end of Geralt's story. Whether you get one of the good endings or the bad one where Ciri snuffs it, Geralt's story sees him riding off into the sunset, either destined to roam the land as a Witcher until his last days, returning to Kovir with Triss, or going off with Yennefer to a place away from the politics and the noise. So whatever ending you get, Geralt is facing the rest of his days in retirement in The Witcher 3. He's already an older man, so there's no way he could be the face of a potential Witcher 4. I disagree with that because look at like Max Payne, right? You would think like, oh, Max Payne, like they completed, the first one, the second one, then the third one, they end up bringing him back. He kind of like comes out of retirement. So I think Geralt could come out of retirement. Or if you didn't, you could do like something like of what Gears of War did, which of course they kind of passed the torch away from Marcus Phoenix and of course into Kate Diaz's hands, and she becomes the main character, her as well as JD Phoenix. You could do something like that. Marcus is still in those games, but, you're playing as JD and Kate Diaz, respectively. And so with this, Geralt could be in The Witcher 4. He just has he's like a side role, or he's like one of the main characters, but you play as a new character, whether that be like, someone in the bloodline of Geralt, or a young Geralt, like, way back, before everything, before The Witcher, the very first Witcher. It's hard to say, but they could take it in so many different directions. I think it's such a big world that we could explore, and with hundreds upon hundreds of hours that we could really put into this thing. So I think that a Witcher 4 needs to happen. So we are not killing the world and walking away from it, but we will definitely want to make this game the finale in a big way, said Mamimis. We might even include Geralt in later games, potentially. We just need to talk about it and figure out what we're going to do next. Of course, the series has plenty of side characters, NPCs, and other faces that could take up the mantle of Witcher hero, but it seems like there's no clear direction for the next game to go in from the ending of The Witcher 3 and its expansions. So, look, guys, I think it's definitely going to be coming. If you are a Witcher fan, and I'm one of them, I don't think you need to necessarily worry about this as a franchise like it going anywhere. It just might be a while until we get another Witcher game. Obviously, Cyberpunk 2077 in 2020, and then of course we've got probably a couple of years that they're at least going to be like supporting Cyberpunk. They'll probably announce The Witcher 4 at some point in the next couple of years, and we'd probably be another year or two after that until we would actually see the full game. But it's hard to say, guys. I'll definitely keep you up to date as far as new information comes out, but let me know what you guys think. Do you think that The Witcher 3 and the trilogy was enough, or do you think that they need to continue onwards with the franchise? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Our next topic of the show is going to be a little bit different, guys. It's going to be a little bit non-gaming related, but at the same time, we know, and all of you should know at this point, that with the 8 Below show, we talk about a number of things outside of gaming, even though gaming is usually the focal point. But today, in this segment of the show, I wanted to talk about Vine, a app that I really enjoyed using for the time that it was around, and it's been a topic I've wanted to talk about on the channel for a while now as to what happened to Vine, and just kind of we can talk about it and the possibilities. Will Vine ever return? Because Vine obviously was owned by Twitter, and I'm sure Twitter still owns the rights to Vine, but with other companies coming into the fray and kind of stealing that share of what Vine had created, it's kind of interesting. And so let's talk about it. In an article that was written by Casey Newton of The Verge, the thing about Vine becoming the internet's premier tool for making short-form videos is that it happened almost completely by accident. Its founders had envisioned their tool for making 6-second clips as a way to help people capture casual moments in their lives and share them with friends. It was part of their pitch to Twitter, which bought the company for a reported $30 million in October of 2012, seeing it as a near-perfect video analog to its flagship app's short-form text posts, which I thought that Twitter buying Vine was a huge move for Twitter. And that's why I couldn't believe when they shut down Vine. It was absolutely, I was so clueless as to why they would have done that, because now you look at the success of TikTok, you look at the success of some of these other apps that have come out, and it's like, why did Vine ever go away? And you look at all the celebrities that actually became big from Vine, Rudy Mancuso and the Paul brothers, and I mean just so many people, and then they moved over to YouTube. I just don't understand why they closed it, but let's find out. And yet, even before the app launched, users had taken the 6-second constraint as a creative challenge. Something about that loop, the way a Vine endlessly rewound itself after completing, like a GIF with audio, encouraged people to put the app to strange uses. It was surprising, said Dom Hoffman, who founded Vine with Russ Uspov and Colin Kroll 4 months before Twitter bought it. Original beta had something like 10 or 15 people on it, and even that with that small group, we started to see experimentation pretty early on. Within weeks, it appeared that Vine probably would never become the everyday video sharing tool its founders had envisioned. Instead, it became something wilder and much more culturally interesting. It became pretty clear as soon after we launched, Hoffman said, watching the community and the tool push on each other was exciting and unreal, and almost immediately became clear that Vine's culture was going to shift towards creativity and experimentation. And that's exactly what happened. Just absolutely awesome. I mean, it was so cool how people were getting so creative with that very short period of time that they had to make a video. It was really neat. With its own future increasingly uncertain, Twitter said it would shut down Vine's mobile app sometime in the next few months. And while existing Vines will remain on the web, a media format that had become beloved for its versatility now appears headed the way of Betamax. Interviews with 7 former executives reveal a portrait of a company whose cultural impact far outstripped its strategic benefits to Twitter, working a continent apart from their parent company. Vine's small New York-based team struggled to grow its user base or find ways to make money. While Vine once boasted a commanding lead over other social video apps, it failed to keep pace as competitors added features, something that ultimately drove its biggest stars away. So, I think that Twitter... I actually think Twitter ruined Vine. I really do. I full-heartedly believe that Twitter, they just didn't do the things that they needed to with Vine to keep it like enjoyable. And that's Twitter, I think to this day is, in my opinion, the best social media network. It's my favorite to use, but they just aren't outside of Twitter. They're just not, they're just not very good with other stuff, it feels like. Like, you look at Facebook, they have WhatsApp, they have the Oculus, they've got, Instagram. They do such a good job with all their different things that they're doing. Twitter does good with Twitter, but even Twitter, a lot of the things that the people, the community of Twitter, the things that they want Twitter to do, Twitter just doesn't even listen to anybody. And so I think that kind of like hurts Twitter as a brand. And I think that this really hurt Twitter to just shut down Vine. I mean, I just don't even know why they ended up doing that, but they did. Ian Padgham saw the potential in Vine, both creative and monetary, before almost anyone. As a member of Twitter's marketing team in 2012, he was responsible for making videos that explained how the service worked. His early film about working at Twitter is likely one of the most watched recruiting videos ever made. After Twitter bought Vine, he sat in on meetings with the marketing team and began to explore its potential as a creative tool. Padgham's first Vine was a simple time-lapse video of the view from his window at Twitter. He loved the 6-second limit, which forced him to think differently about storytelling. It's kind of like drawing in Microsoft Paint, he said. It used to be the worst app ever, but you couldn't get distracted by the bells and whistles. And so Padgham began making Vines every day before he left for work, and they soon grew both in popularity and in ambition. He cut out 300 photo prints and spent 3 hours painstakingly turning them into a tribute to Edward Muybridge, a photographer who did pioneering work in motion pictures. He stood underneath Big Ben and recorded a time-lapse of himself appearing to move the hands of the clock with his fingers, a loop that was viewed more than 5 million times. Soon, brands like Sony and Airbnb were contacting Padgham, asking him to make Vines on their behalf, and 6 months after Vine launched, he quit Twitter to do it full time. And then in 2013, Vine began allowing users to record clips with their phones' front-facing cameras, and usage exploded. An ecosystem of young stars sprung up around the service, which evolved into a kind of live-action cartoon network. There was Zach King, whose eye-popping magic tricks earned him 4 million followers and more than 1.4 billion views, or Amanda Cerny, whose physical comedy earned more than 2.2 billion views, Logan Paul, whose Vines looped more than 4 billion times, parlayed his following into a series of acting roles while earning $200,000 to create a single Vine for a brand, according to a recent 60 Minutes report. So look, guys, there was so much potential in Vine. I think the biggest thing was Vine being, Twitter buying Vine, Vine being sold to Twitter was where everything went wrong. Twitter just didn't really, it doesn't seem to me at least, that Twitter knew what they needed to do in order to sustain Vine, to keep Vine going and thriving for years. And you look at like a app like TikTok. I feel like TikTok, as long as they just keep doing what they're doing, TikTok could be the new Vine. But I mean, it could even be bigger, because if they never sell, and if they go onto the stock exchange, I mean, Vine or TikTok alone could become absolutely massive. So, former executives say that a major competitive challenge emerged in the form of Instagram, which introduced 15-second video clips in June of 2013. Instagram video was the beginning of the end, one former executive told me. Vine didn't move fast enough to differentiate. Instagram courted celebrities with longer videos, eventually bumping the limit to a more flexible 60 seconds. Vines didn't break the 6-second barrier until earlier this year, and its extended videos never caught on. Instagram also began promoting celebrity accounts in its popular Explore tab, bringing them attention that Vine found difficult to match. Marketers began shifting their money away from Vine, and stars followed. So obviously that was kind of what ultimately happened to Vine, guys, was that, Instagram came, right? And Instagram basically kind of evolved. And that's what Facebook's done so well, right? You look at what Facebook's done, they're doing stories. They're kind of stealing some of that, revenue from Snapchat. They started to steal it from Vine with these, these different clips and such. I think that the problem with Snapchat, the problem with, Vine, was that they didn't evolve. They didn't continue evolving. They kind of just stayed very complacent. And Twitter, I put a lot of the blame on Twitter, because they kind of stayed just complacent with Vine as a whole. They didn't try to evolve it quickly enough. And over time, of course, it was just a matter of time until somebody kind of stole some of the ideas from Vine that Vine kind of created. And there you have it with Instagram, and you have Snapchat, you got TikTok now. It's a very unfortunate thing what happened to Vine, because it was really special in my opinion. At the management level, Vine was rarely stable for long. Hoffman quit in 2014 to pursue a new startup. Kroll followed him out the door later that year. Twitter laid off Yusupov, who was Vine's creative director, as part of last year's mass layoffs. "Don't sell your company," he tweeted on Thursday. Jason Toft took over Vine in 2014 and led it for 2 years before quitting this year to work on virtual reality projects at Google. Hannah Donovan became general manager in March after working at a series of music startups. Her lack of previous experience running a company led some employees I spoke with to question whether her hiring might be the beginning of the end. And obviously it was probably the beginning of the end well before that. Twitter executives were discussing ways to bring Twitter's various video offerings together somehow, sources said. In June, the company held discussions about absorbing Vine into Twitter's flagship app. To Vine employees, those discussions served as evidence that Twitter never valued Vine as a standalone property the way its audience did. But no Vine integration ever materialized, and this summer, top Vine executives began heading for the exits. Twitter explored selling the app, according to the New York Times, but it never found a buyer. A couple of things plagued Vine, and it all stems from the same thing, which is a lack of unity and leadership on a vision, said Ankur Thakur, who was Vine's head of editorial from 2014 until May of this year. He told me he was proud of the work and the app did to highlight rising stars, including Ruth B., who earned a record deal after his team gave her a coveted Editor's Pick award. But by the end of the company was rudderless, he said. That trickled down into all of the project teams and the things they were working on, he said. Vine didn't ship anything of consequence for a year. So it's really sad, guys. It's really sad. Vine was a very special thing, and I think it could have continued to be very special. I really do. I just don't think Twitter, they mismanaged it. And I think that a company like Facebook, if they would have bought Vine, I think Vine would have been thriving to this day. But they didn't. Twitter bought Vine. Facebook just evolved Instagram. Twitter should have evolved Vine, and they didn't. And it's unfortunate, guys, but that's just, that's the way it is. The stars who grew famous on Vine continued posting their work on other platforms, but they're no longer pushing the surprisingly elastic boundaries of the 6-second medium. The most important part of Vine has always been the people that are on it, Dom Hoffman told me. It's also the only part that can't be replicated. So I'm going to miss them. Even though I can and do follow some people from Vine on Instagram or Snapchat or Twitter or wherever they've decided to go, it just doesn't feel the same. It's like the band is breaking up and everyone's going solo. I agree. It's a sad thing, guys. Will Vine ever come back? Look, as long as that it is in Twitter's, control, I just don't see it happening. Now, of course, Twitter could surprise all of us. They could say, look, we're going to bring Vine back. We have a vision for it. We know what we want to do. It's always going to be there for them to maybe, consider bringing it back. I think that they should. I think it should have never been shut down. I just think that, they could have supported it, but they could have just, in a very minimal way. They could have just said, look, it's here, and I think that if they brought it back, I think people would go back to it. At least at first. They would go back to it, and if they continue to evolve it, dude, it could be... competition is good for these spaces. It really is. It's good to have that competition. Vine, it was good for them to have competition with Instagram, with Snapchat, now with TikTok, and all these other, different apps. What happened at Vine, guys? It failed to evolve when it was sold to Twitter. I think that's what it was at the end of the day. But let me know what you guys think about it. Do you guys miss Vine? Do you want it to come back? What do you guys think really happened with the app? Let me know in the comment section below. Our last topic of the day, guys, is going to be talking about Gears of War and the future of Gears of War with those announcements that came out with Rod Fergusson leaving the Coalition to move over to Blizzard to work on Diablo 4 and the Diablo franchise. It's really an unfortunate thing, guys, that Rod Fergusson left, the Coalition, because he was kind of the face of Gears of War. What I will say about it is this, where we're headed to now is a direction of, really not even a direction, we don't really know where we're headed, right? We don't have a face now anymore of Gears of War. I think really what needs to happen, though, is that the Gears of War community, we really need to come together. And I think that we need to become the face of Gears of War until we get somebody to kind of replace Gears Viking, to replace Rod Fergusson. Now, obviously, a lot of people have been talking about Cliff Bleszinski coming back to Gears of War. I don't know if I really like the idea. I think it's an okay idea, but I almost would like to see somebody new come in. We saw what Cliff Bleszinski did, of course, with the first Gears of War games, and I thought that they were fantastic. But I just think having someone kind of have a new approach, not going away from Gears of War completely, but putting their handprint on the Gears of War titles in the future. Rod Fergusson already confirmed that Gears 6 and Gears 7, as well as a Gears of War movie, are all confirmed. So we're going to get a Gears 6 and a Gears 7 at some point, most likely. And Rod Fergusson even said, I trust what he trusts the Coalition. He says, I'm leaving it in very good hands, which, it's hard to say whether or not we're going to be able to fully believe him on that. Here's the positive thing, is that Rod Fergusson as well as the Coalition, brought back Gears of War. And let's look at the games that they came out with. Gears of War Ultimate Edition, pretty good. Gears 4, or Gears of War 4, it was pretty good as well. I thought the multiplayer was fantastic. I thought that the campaign was, mediocre. It wasn't that great. And then Gears 5. They kind of elaborated on the multiplayer as well as the campaign, especially where you had like semi-open world. The direction for Gears of War is going in a good direction, in my opinion. The Coalition is doing what they can. I think that obviously there's things that people want fixed about the game and stuff, but I think a lot of the community is... I think that the Gears community does complain a lot, and that does become a problem, and that's how it is with any community. The problem is, though, is that Gears of War doesn't have as big of a community as, say, that of Call of Duty and, Fortnite and such. So when there's a lot of people on one of those games that are complaining, it's not a big deal because there's so many other people that are really enjoying it. With Gears of War, when you have a lot of people complaining that are, within the community, since the community is not quite as big, it really does hurt the developers and such. So... look, it's unfortunate that Rod Ferguson's leaving. I would have liked to see Rod Fergusson kind of finish out what he was planning on starting or, continuing with Gears 6 and Gears 7. I would have liked to see that. But at least he gave us 3 Gears titles. He was part of the reason why we got Gears of War back, so thank you so much, Rod, for that. We really appreciate you and appreciate what you did for Gears of War, bringing back this beloved franchise of ours. Because without Rod Fergusson, without the Coalition, we would have never gotten more Gears of War games. So we got them to thank for that, guys. Now, the big question is who's going to replace Rod Fergusson over at the Coalition to be the head of the director of operations over there and the lead director on Gears 6, on Gears 7, and just even on Gears 5, like moving forward now. Who's going to be that guy? We need somebody. I don't know if it should be Cliff Bleszinski or somebody else. I feel like it should be somebody else to get somebody else's handprint. Somebody like I would love to see like a Ken Levine, the director of like the BioShock games. That would be really sexy. Somebody like him come into the Gears of War franchise. I'd like to see somebody new. Ultimately, I'd like to see somebody new come into the Coalition to take the helm and take us in, down more of that home stretch into Gears 6, Gears 7, and even, of course, with the Gears of War movie. But think about this. Not only did Rod Fergusson and the Coalition up to this point bring us the Ultimate Edition, Gears of War 4, and Gears 5, they also are bringing us Gears Tactics. They're also bringing us, they have Gears Pop. We've got all these different ways in which we're able to connect with this universe and this franchise, and it's incredible. It's a beautiful thing, guys. Rod Fergusson leaving is a blow to the Gears of War community. He's moving on to his next venture. He spent a lot of time on Gears of War to always be a part of him. Now he wanted to try something new. Diablo is definitely down his alley because think about it. Gears of War, has all these different, the Locust Horde, the creatures, all the different stuff, the creativity there. But Diablo kind of has that kind of stuff too. And it's a new, franchise to work on. And I think Rod Fergusson just wanted maybe a new challenge. I don't think, a lot of people are saying that Rod Fergusson was just abandoning ship. He wanted to jump on the sinking ship that was Gears of War. I 100% disagree with that. I think that Gears of War, they've put it's in a place where... sure, any game needs updated. Any game needs, additions or subtractions and things of that nature. Gears of War is in a solid spot, in my opinion. Rod Fergusson probably felt that way as well, moving onwards into the future. What it really comes down to, though, guys, is us as a community, we have to be supporting one another. I've said this multiple occasions, right? You got to be supporting your favorite streamers, your favorite content creators on YouTube. When it comes to create, when you have guys who are creating content around Gears of War, you have streamers who are streaming all the time on Gears of War. You got to support those guys. We got to be helping each other. If you love Gears of War, why not stream it? I believe, guys, that there is something special with Gears of War still. I mean, there really is. It's just up to us to continue pushing Gears of War to the masses and moving it forward. I think the complaining and the just the hate on the Coalition is not going to get us anywhere. It's not going to get us anywhere. It's only going to kind of just demotivate the developers, and Microsoft's going to be looking at that and saying, well, you know what? Maybe we should just hold off on a Gears 6, a Gears 7. Let's work on Halo. Let's work on some of these other titles. That is a real possibility, guys. Gear 6 and Gear 7 are confirmed at this point, but that could certainly change. If Microsoft and the Coalition look at it and say, look, I mean, why are we going to change something, or why are we going to continue something that people are just going to, hate on? Look, I believe that Gears of War is going to be fine moving forward, right? I think it's very undervalued. It's very underappreciated at this point. It's up to us as a community, however, to move Gears of War in the right direction. Whether that be streaming, content creation, whatever it is, we've got to be working together to push those things forward. And that's just my opinion, guys. And I would love to hear your opinion, though, on all of this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you believe in the direction Gears of War is headed in? Or are you concerned that it's going to be the end? Or have you left the Gears of War community completely? What are your thoughts on Rod Fergusson leaving the Coalition to go over to Blizzard? Let me know what you guys think. Let's have a real conversation about it. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of The 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.